first, we take off with Amazon's newly reported ad revenue figures. And you have the honors today.
Yes. All right. Headline number one. So according to Marketing Dive, Amazon has reported its ad revenue for the first time ever last week. And the results are staggering.
They are staggering, actually.
Yes.
Quite staggering. I was staggered.
Of course you were. According to Amazon's earnings release, advertising services generated $9.7 billion in revenue in the fourth quarter, which is a 32% year-on-year gain. For the full 2021 year, ad revenue reached a whopping $31.1 billion. Chad, let's go to you first with this. These are huge numbers. Chris was staggered. What are your thoughts?
Staggered, yeah. So many will very reasonably and rightfully so focus on this top line number in the headline. First we get to salivate at getting to hear Amazon actually disaggregate financials overall in their business, and it's the first time we've heard this number. So nearly 10 billion for the quarter. Like, does that seem big? Just to put that in perspective, Facebook did 36, Google did 61 billion in the quarter. So it is a distant third, but for now, right? So to me, the most important number in the story is the plus 32% year over year. And just because Amazon does everything for a reason, right? And the timing of this, like, I think they reveal this number because they have line of sight to this increasing by even higher rates going forward.
Absolutely.
Right. So is part of the growth, like, it must be a return that advertising spend from late 2020 COVID reduced numbers to brands having more confidence spending again in 21. Like, sure, that, Google was up 32% as well. Like, got it. But Facebook was only up 20. And the most interesting part here is that they're calling down 22 pretty significantly.
Right.
Quarter one, they're only saying is going to be up about 3 to 11%. The CFO provided guidance that they're going to take a $10 billion hit in 2022, right? So why does Amazon win and Facebook lose, right? We talked about this a little bit the last time I was on with respect to retail media networks.
Right.
So a couple things going on, right? So social advertising continues to get more expensive. The Apple iOS changes that allow users to opt out of the in-app data collection, it makes it harder to retarget, measure ads, get attribution, whereas Amazon is giving you first-party shopper data. So you think about it, right? You can't get much closer to the consumer point of purchase in a brand's quest to get further down the marketing funnel. Like, as a former CMO myself, that's what you're trying to do, right? Yeah. And where does a typical paid sponsored Facebook ad go as a call to action anyway? If you're not D2C, it goes to Amazon.
Exactly.
Right. So I think there's a major tide turning that CPG brands need to be paying attention to if they haven't already started distorting their marketing media channel mix toward this.
Wow. Yeah, I want to go to you, David, but I just want, before we do, I want to say that was the single best answer, I think, in the history of this show, in my opinion. I love that. I thought you hit all the angles there. It was great. There are a few things I want to add too, and I'm sure Ann does too, but I just want to say that because that was incredible. But David, what do you think? Can you top that?
I don't know if I can top it, but I think the more interesting question is, how big does Amazon want this to be?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
From a perspective of, sure, they got the eyeballs, they got the traffic, as everything Chad said, it's close to the point of sale. But at some point, does it start to impact their user experience and, ultimately start upsetting market-based partners or their own category managers because it takes away from the simplicity of shopping on Amazon? And I think that'll be some interesting, conversations up in the halls of Seattle. Is this, an AWS where it becomes their profit generator and selling stuff is just a method to, have more infrastructure and more ad sales? Or, does the shopping experience still matter? So I think we'll see.
Yeah, David, that's what I was looking at too. I mean, what they've generated in ad revenue is already half of the revenue that they're generating for AWS in the last quarter. I mean, they hit almost $18 billion in revenue in Q4 last year. And that's just going to continue to climb. I think, like Chad said, the 32% number is the key statistic here when we're looking at this article. Chris, what do you?
The point I would add, which I think is interesting, and what you and David were just saying particularly, is like, how big does this get? Like, I think it's still going to get a lot bigger because the other factor that's not at play here that we haven't brought up yet is they've got the NFL streaming coming, where that's a whole nother platform for advertising beyond like the type of user experience, David, you were, alluding to there as well.
Absolutely.
And you think about how the substrates and the platforms can continue to evolve in terms of how that experience is consumed and then tied into retail consumption as well. I mean, God, that's incredible when you start thinking about where this could go. And the size of the number is incredible too. Like even alone, you look at the annual volume, that's more than that places them number 17 in the top US retailers just for advertising. So it shows you how strong they are against their retail competition because they have this in play as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bigger than YouTube too. The number is bigger than YouTube. So I talked about where they are in the standing versus Google and Facebook, but Amazon's bigger than YouTube as an ad platform. It's crazy.